Most people completely misunderstand what it really takes to start a company in a country like Equatorial Guinea. And that misunderstanding quietly costs them opportunities they don't even realize they're missing. On the surface, it feels intimidating. A Central African country with its own legal system, language influences, and administrative structure. For many entrepreneurs, that's enough to walk away before they even begin. But here's the surprising truth that almost nobody talks about. Markets like Equatorial Guinea often have less competition, strong demand in key sectors, and a business environment where early movers can establish a powerful advantage. And this is exactly where Daniel's story begins. Daniel is an infrastructure consultant from California. He spent years working on projects across emerging markets, helping companies expand into regions that are still developing. One day, while reviewing energy sector reports in Africa, he notices something interesting about Equatorial Guinea. The country has significant oil wealth, growing infrastructure needs, and increasing government interest in diversification. At first, he's skeptical. He doesn't know the business environment. He's unsure about regulations. And he has no local connections. But something keeps pulling his attention back. And that's where things get interesting. Because the more Daniel researches, the more he realizes that while the process of registering a company in Equatorial Guinea isn't widely discussed, it's absolutely possible, if you understand how it works. And what happens next changes everything. He decides to explore one simple question. What does it actually take to set up a limited liability company there? And this is where most people get stuck. Because starting a business in Equatorial Guinea isn't just about forms or fees. It's about understanding a system influenced by OHADA law, local administrative procedures, and real-world practical challenges. And if you don't understand that system, things can go very wrong. Let's start with the foundation. Equatorial Guinea, like several other Central and West African countries, follows the OHADA legal framework. Now, this is where many people get confused. OHADA stands for the Organization for the Harmonization of Business Law in Africa. It standardizes commercial laws across multiple countries. But here's the problem. If you don't know that OHADA exists, the process feels unpredictable. But once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. And this small insight makes a huge difference. Now, in Equatorial Guinea, the most common type of company, similar to an LLC, is called a SARL, or Société à Responsabilité Limitée. This structure offers limited liability, meaning your personal assets are protected from business risks. That's a major advantage. But there's one detail most people miss. While the structure is standardized under OHADA, the actual process of registration depends heavily on local procedures. And this is where things can get complicated. Let's go back to Daniel. At first he assumes that because OHADA standardizes the law, the process will be simple and uniform. But reality is different. Documentation, approvals, and timelines can vary based on local offices and administrative workflows. And this is where Sarah enters the picture. Sarah is a business consultant who has worked extensively in Central Africa. When Daniel reaches out to her, she tells him something that immediately changes his strategy. The law is standardized, but the process is local. That one sentence shifts his entire approach. Because instead of relying solely on theory, he begins focusing on practical execution. And that's where progress begins. Now let's walk through the process step by step, in a way that feels clear and realistic. Imagine you're in Daniel's position. You've decided to move forward. What's the first step? It starts with choosing a company name. Simple, right? But here's where things get interesting. Your company name must be unique and approved by the commercial registry. If it's already taken or too similar to another business, it will be rejected. Daniel submits his first choice. Rejected. Then his second. Also rejected. Each attempt slows down the process. But there's a smarter way to handle this. You prepare multiple name options in advance and verify availability before submission. This small detail can save weeks of delays. And this is the pattern you need to recognize. Small details, big consequences. Now, once the name is approved, the next step is drafting the company's statutes. This document defines how your business operates, ownership structure, management roles, and internal rules. But here's the problem. These statutes must comply with OHADA regulations and local legal expectations. You can't just copy a template from another country. David tried that. He used a European template, assuming it would be acceptable. It wasn't. The result? Delays, corrections, and frustration. But once he worked with a local legal advisor, everything changed. His documents were properly structured, and the process moved forward smoothly. And this is where things get interesting again. Local expertise is not optional. It's essential. Now let's move forward. After preparing the statutes, you need to deposit your company's share capital. Here's where many people get confused. OHADA requires a minimum capital for SAR companies, but the exact expectations can vary depending on business context and banking requirements. And this is where Emily made a smart decision. Instead of focusing only on the minimum requirement, she ensured her company had enough capital to operate effectively from day one. This gave her credibility with partners and institutions. And that credibility opened doors. But here's the problem. Many entrepreneurs underestimate how important financial perception is in new markets. And that's where businesses struggle. Now, once the capital is deposited, you receive a bank certificate. This document confirms your capital deposit and becomes part of your registration file. Next comes the official registration. This involves submitting your documents to the commercial registry and completing administrative procedures. And this is where things can get unpredictable. Jessica experienced this firsthand. She submitted her application expecting a smooth process. Instead, she encountered delays due to administrative backlogs. Not because she made mistakes, but because the system operates at its own pace. And this is where patience becomes a competitive advantage. But here's the good news. Once your company is officially registered, it becomes a legal entity. You can open accounts, sign contracts, and begin operations. And that moment changes everything. Because now your idea becomes a real business. But there's one detail most people miss. Registration is only the beginning. Now let's talk about what happens next. After registration, you need to handle tax registration and compliance. This includes obtaining a tax identification number and understanding your reporting obligations. And this is where things can go very wrong. If you ignore compliance, penalties can build quickly. Michael learned this the hard way. He assumed that small-scale operations wouldn't require strict compliance. He was wrong. Missed filings led to fines. But once he partnered with a local accountant, everything stabilized. And that stability allowed him to focus on growth. Now, let's zoom out. At this point, you've chosen a name, drafted statutes, deposited capital, registered the company, and handled tax registration. It sounds like a lot. But here's the insight most people never realize. The process itself is not the biggest challenge. The mindset is. If you approach this with impatience, you'll face frustration. If you approach it with strategy, you'll find opportunity. And this is where the identity shift happens. You're no longer someone guessing your way through international business. You're someone who understands how to navigate complex environments. And that changes everything. But we're not done yet. There's one more critical piece: ongoing compliance and operations. In Equatorial Guinea, businesses must maintain proper records, file reports, and operate within legal frameworks. This is not optional. And this is where many entrepreneurs lose momentum. But here's the smarter approach. You build a local support system, a legal advisor, an accountant, trusted contacts. Daniel eventually did this. At first, he tried to manage everything remotely. It didn't work. But once he built local connections, everything became smoother. Decisions became clearer. Processes became faster. And his confidence grew. And that confidence led to growth. Because while others hesitated to enter the market, he was already established. He had relationships. He had experience. He had momentum. Now let's bring everything together. Registering an LLC in Equatorial Guinea is not just about paperwork. It's about understanding a system. A system shaped by regional law, local practice, and real-world dynamics. If you rush, you risk mistakes. If you prepare, you create opportunity. And that's the difference between those who struggle and those who succeed. Because at the end of the day, it's not about choosing the easiest market. It's about choosing the right one, and understanding it deeply. Equatorial Guinea may not be the first place entrepreneurs think of, but for those who take the time to learn the process, it offers something powerful. Opportunity with less competition, growth potential in key sectors, and the chance to establish a strong presence early. So, if you're considering starting your own LLC in Equatorial Guinea, remember this. Take your time. Learn the system. Build the right connections. Because once you do, you're not just starting a company. You're entering a market that very few people truly understand. And that's where real opportunity lives. If you found this guide helpful and want more videos that break down complex global opportunities like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Because the more you understand, the more confident and capable you become. And that's how smart entrepreneurs move forward.